And you guys will also get a little notification. You might have to click yes, you know that it's recording. Thanks, we love consent. Okay, here we go. Happy Sunday morning. Thank you so much for joining us for today's monthly growth game plan, where we will be talking about our health and nutrition and all the things. But today is going to be very specific on how to match your training to your nutrition to achieve your goals. So, um, me and my team, aka me and Marilyn, worked all day and night on our presentation that we're going to go ahead and show you guys today, and the workbook that you guys should have gotten on your email. So I'm going to ask you guys to go ahead and pull out that workbook if you have access to it, whatever that looks like. I'm actually going to go ahead and mute all really quick. Allow participants to unmute themselves. Yes, you guys will need to unmute yourselves when and if you're going to share. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up the screen and we'll go from there. Okay, so 1 second on what that's going to look like. But in the chat box, in the meantime, go ahead and let me know what you're excited to learn about this topic. Is it better understanding what it looks like to be on a cut, to be on a bulk, to what you need to actually do for your training to match? What does that look like? Are you familiar with training intensity? Let me know in the comments while I go ahead and pull this up for us. Do I exit full screen? Oh, there we go. Yes. Okay. Cool. And what I'll do is I'll share screen. Share whiteboard. No. Share actions. Oh gosh. Background. Okay. I think I might have to go to my. I thought I had this down, but apparently not. Okay, cool. This is gonna be fun. I might have to stop this recording and re-intro so that it's not. Yep, I don't know how to share a screen. So training and all right, so thank you guys for putting in the chat what we want to learn about. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen. We're going to go over my presentation and what I have going on. You guys can follow along with your workbooks where you have everything that I am talking about in there, but you can also go ahead and write additional notes where I will have little prompts with a cute little pencil so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Start broadcast. I'm going to be right here. And then present. Okay. Present. Cool. No, it doesn't want to do it. That's fine. There we go. Okay. Can you guys see this? I can see Gabe in my little corner. Thumbs up if you could see it. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So this is the presentation. Thanks for giving me that time to figure this out. But this is what we're going to go ahead and go over today, how to match your nutrition and your training to reach your goals. So again, quick intro. I am Angel Hermosillo, as you guys may or may not. Hermosillo Rojas, I apologize, as you can see in my background. My vision with this growth and game plan, this is something I just created in 2024, is to really educate my clients and any paid members, educate you guys on knowledge that will help you boost your confidence in yourselves and your health and growth journey, empower you guys to take ownership of your decisions that can lead to better mindset, optimal health, strong body, and better quality of life. And then last but not least, impact you in a way that inspires you to share your knowledge, your wisdom, and experiences with others, right? If you're a parent, if you're a son, a daughter, whatever, you have no idea who is watching you and who you are inspiring with just your efforts and your consistency. So really excited for you guys to just pay it forward with this, whatever you learned today. So today I really want you to get yourself in a comfy place and space to allow yourself to take notes and be present. I get that it is Sunday, so if you are doing some things, maybe just turn off your screen so it's just not distracting for others in the background. But when we are going to share, go ahead and unmute yourself. You can share with the audio or you can share in the chat room. Okay, so also you have that workbook in the email, so you can go ahead and follow along with that as well. But it's really important today that we get clear on what are your specific goals that you are currently working towards, right? I know many of us Some people are just in it for like general health, to feel better, to sleep better, longevity, right? Whether, or are you currently in this to get stronger, more performance goals? Are you trying to drop body fat and build muscle? Where are you currently at? Or are you in a season of life where you're just going to the gym to feel better? You're moving to move and just to feel better, and that is totally okay. So write that down, figure out what that is, or let me know in the chat so we can go ahead and I can read those aloud if you guys don't feel like unmuting yourselves. Number 2 is, what is your training like? Are you someone that's just walking right now? Are you someone that is training the 3 to 5 times a week? Obviously, many of you guys are my clients, so you're probably with me at least 2 to 4 times a week, which is amazing. And then what's your nutrition like? And be kind of honest with yourself. And you can give me as much detail as you want here, meaning, do you eat mostly unprocessed foods? Are you meal prepping right now? Or are you currently kind of just going for convenience and what works for this season of life? Are you just healing your relationship with food, so it's just getting in those 3 meals right now? What does that look like, right? How can we feel better about where we're currently at, and just making sure that we know where we're at? Because sometimes if we say that we're here but we're really here, we're going to have these expectations, but if we're really here, we got to be honest with ourselves there. So here comes the fun. Okay, so this right here is the transformation cycle. If you did not print out the workbook, you better screenshot this because this is just really solid information. Okay, so transformation cycle. I'm going to share by starting how this goes, but I'm also going to share, like I mentioned, I've been a trainer for 10 years, where most people want to start with as being a client, right? When they sign up with me, most people want to start in this fat loss phase, right at that bottom, right? And if we read that here, I'm going to start from where most people want to start, and then I'll tell you where most people should start based on what they're walking in with, right? So our fat loss phase should be anywhere from 12 to 24 weeks. It's really, really, really important that you have a start and an end date to a fat loss phase. If you continue to extend and extend and extend, you may be in that way too long where you're going to affect your hormones, your metabolism. There's a list of things that could be affected if we stay in a fat loss phase too long, and we might not even be losing fat at that point. But so what it should be is 12 to 24 weeks. Our goal within that is to lose body fat, to maintain muscle mass, improve body composition, right? So how our body looks, and improve hormone profile. So once you're done with that fat loss phase after the max 24 weeks, this is something that I just went through, so I have a lot of experience here, and it was challenging. It made me grow personally. It challenged my limiting beliefs around food, around myself, around my consistency, all the things. And I think that's really what this whole journey is about, is that it is going to challenge you, but we get to grow along the way. So every time that we go through this transformation cycle, we can get better. So once you finish a fat loss phase, it's really, really, really important to go straight into a reverse diet. And a reverse diet, that sounds kind of scary for most people, because when you hear that, most people don't think of it as a body transformation. They think about it more as, oh, well, I need to take out foods to figure out what's making me feel sick, right? So they take out all the wheat, and then they take out all the this, all the that, all the dairy. And then once they figured out what made them sick, they build things back up little by little. This is very different than that. This is actually, so for example, if in your fat loss phase, your lowest calories, and I'm only going to speak on mine, my lowest calories were 1,300 calories. And my coach built me up for 8 weeks, 100 calories a week. And what was moving was mainly my carbs. My carbs and my fats very little. My protein still stayed high at 150 because my goal was body weight and muscle mass to keep that on. But increasing your carbs and increasing your fats little by little, not going for the whole box of donuts right away, not going for the tub of ice cream right away, but just increasing them little by little so that you can maintain the fat that you've lost and just have minimal fat gain along this process. Again, having it be structured and planned well is going to be important so that you don't gain all that weight back. The goal is not to lose 20 pounds and then gain it right back, right? But it's also not our goal to stay at the 1,300 calories forever, because that's just not healthy. So after that reverse diet, we go into what's called a maintenance phase. And I'm going to actually help you guys figure out what your maintenance calories are with the TDEE calculator that we're going to use. Marilyn's going to send the link a little bit later so that you guys can actually figure out what your maintenance calories are. So maintenance phase is actually 12 to 24 weeks. So that one is a little bit longer, but it is super important because again, this is where we want to maintain the results that we got from our fat loss. Yes, we're going to probably go up 5 pounds. But if you're stressing about the 5 pounds going up, then maybe we're not ready for a fat loss, right? But you're probably going to go up 5 pounds and you're going to maintain that weight, but you're going to also maintain your body composition. So again, to establish the new weight as your new standard. Okay, so when I started my fat loss, I was 169, and now currently at the end of this reverse, I'm at 150. Oh, sorry, I dropped all the way down to 144. Now I'm at 150 after this reverse, and I'm probably going to maintain 150. So that's going to be my new standard, which is still 15 pounds down, which is amazing. So to establish this new weight as your new standard, important to stay here for the time listed, especially if it's your first transformation phase. On the next slide, I'm going to talk about why it's so important. But after the maintenance, we go into a building. A building is probably the longest one you're going to want to do, 12 weeks to 104 weeks. Why? So we can grow our muscles to build the shape that you want. You want a bigger booty, you want bigger shoulders, you want a smaller waist, you want your back to grow, all the things. This is where we do that in the building phase, because this is where we actually build muscle. Yes, you have more carbs, you have more fats, your protein should stay pretty high still, at the same as it was as your fat loss, so that you can create the shape that you want, and you're not going to put on as much fat if you stick with the structure. If you eat all the junk foods, that's going to be a little different. So in that building phase, you're going to have small breaks with mini cuts, but that building should really just be 5% on top of those maintenance calories. So this will all make sense as we continue, but make sure that you understand this. And on the next page here, why is it important to implement, I'm going to move you over here, to implement this with a specific structure, right? So we need to make sure that our metabolism is working well. So many people come to me thinking they have a very slow metabolism. I'm not thinking, but feeling that they have a very slow metabolism, and it could either be your metabolism or how you've been treating it all these years, how you've been eating all these years, right? Hormones, again, if we're eating way too low in calories and we're eating lower than our BMR, I'll explain what BMR is in a second, you are going to affect your hormones. You are going to affect your thyroid and different things as well. And then your nervous system, right? Our nervous system is totally going to go either fight or flight or rest and digest, depending on how you're feeding it, what you think while you're eating. All those things are super, super important. And we talked a lot about that in last month's call, all about nutrition, right? All the ins and outs of nutrition and how important it is to slow down, chew your food, take 3 deep breaths, right? But if we're constantly thinking negative thoughts around everything we put in our mouth, it's going to be tough for your body to give you the results you want because of how that affects your nervous system. So this is what's going to allow you to keep your body changing and not just stay stuck in a plateau. So most of the time, one transformation cycle is not enough to achieve your dream shape, right? I am not at the current dream goal body that I want. I'm super excited for one day to have a 6-pack, and I know I will, because I now understand this transformation cycle. I now understand what it looks like to train with intensity, what RPE and RIR means, all these different things. So it's very important to respect the length of each cycle and respect the order. So again, I'm going to go back really quick, because many people want to start in that fat loss, but if you've been dieting for years and years and years and eating so low calories, you actually need to start in the maintenance phase. And we need to figure out what your maintenance calories are. And if you're currently eating around 1,500 calories, but your body's maintenance calories are like 2,000, we got to build you up to 2,000 calories. And if that sounds scary, there's just some inner work we get to do. And I get that. That might not all be with me. I'm not the person for all the things, and I'm okay with that. Working with therapists, figuring out what that looks like. But maintenance calories is going to be super important so that we can help, again, back to this page, our hormone profile, our metabolism, and our nervous system, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And I hope you can kind of tell me where you're currently at on that, in that cycle, and what that looks like. But this page, I hope, is really important for everyone to understand. This one was a really big game changer for me, is understanding the fat loss hierarchy. For the most part, many people are looking to lose fat and to maintain muscle or put on more muscle, right? So what is the most important? And right away, I hear many clients thinking like, oh, I need to add more cardio because I want to lose fat. Sure. But as you see on this hierarchy here, the most important is going to be our nutrition. You cannot like overtrain bad nutrition. You can't eat pizza all damn day or eat all the donuts and eat all the things and think that you can still achieve the results you want because it's calories in, calories out. Not necessarily. We're going to talk about the importance of macros and all the things as well, processed foods, unprocessed foods, etc. So nutrition is the most important. Okay, so if you are not already hitting a minimum of 100 grams of protein or at least your goal body weight in protein, then we have some work to build up to here. Okay. Number 2 is going to be recovery and sleep. As y'all know, I talk so much about recovery and sleep. Every time I see a client, I ask, what is your recovery number? And that recovery is sleep, nutrition, and stress, right? If our stress is through the roof, we're not going to recover well. So if you had a really great workout, but your body is crazy stressed, you're not even going to get the gains or the benefits from that workout. Or if you go home and you only sleep 2 hours instead of the 8 that maybe you could have, you're not going to get the gains that you want to from that. You're actually only harming your body more than you are actually getting any benefit. So really dialing in our recovery and our sleep is going to be super important. And then strength training. Mind you, I get everybody's in a different season of life. So whether it's 2 times a week, 3, 4, 5, I would say 5 is honestly the max amount that you should strength train so that you can still prioritize your recovery with giving yourself 2 rest days per week. And rest days, not meaning a full-on hike, not meaning a cycle class. Those aren't rest days. You get to rest. Yes, you could still hit your steps, but we got to make sure that we learn to rest and understand what that looks like. Next on this list is steps. And steps, I used to think, what the heck is so important about all these damn steps? And what is this about? But it wasn't until I was only walking 2,000 steps a day mid-pandemic. And I was like, I have no idea why I gained 25 pounds. I was like, girl, we gained 25 pounds because you've been sitting your booty on a chair all damn day and we are not moving enough. And we're going to talk about why steps are so important for your neat calorie expenditure. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So steps ranging anywhere between 8 to 15,000. Again, that number may sound scary, but you just build it up little by little. So figuring out what your current steps are and how you can increase those little by little to get to a way that you're not fluctuating your weight constantly, a way that your body feels better, looks better, etc. And then last but not least, like I mentioned on here, least important is going to be cardio. We don't need to do the sprints. Sure, there's a lot of fun fad things going on about sprints and different things. You can just do some easy cardio for 20 to 30 minutes, at least 1 to 2 times a week to really just boost your fat loss. And that you want your beats per minute to be your age. So 31 minus 160. So that is 129 beats per minute. That's where that should stay for a fat loss. Okay. You don't need to be at 167 and do sprints all the time because that actually just might spike your hunger. And now we're going to increase our cravings and all the things. So that's also in your workbook. So you'll have that there too. All right. You're welcome. I see you taking notes, Boo. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Energy balance. Okay. So your calorie intake will dictate whether you lose, maintain, or gain weight. Something that is very important is that if you are truly in a calorie deficit, meaning you're burning more calories than you're eating, you will lose weight. Mind you, when I say that, I also want to keep in mind that there's hormones, there's metabolism, there's different things that will affect. So you don't want to be too low to where you're harming those things, right? But you have to figure out what your maintenance calories are. So getting the right amount of calories will make a significant difference in everything you do because calories are the building blocks and energy, building blocks to energy, and energy is currency of life. Okay. So how you digest, how you move, how you think, how you feel, how are you recovered are all impacted by your calorie intake. So on that workbook, I asked you in that previous slide to go ahead and rate your where you're at currently, right? What's your nutrition like? How would you rate it on a scale from 1 to 5? And be honest, but also be compassionate, right? You don't need to say you're at a 1 because you're not hitting everything. If you're on here, you're at least at a 2 or 3, okay? But we also get to be honest with ourselves and not always give ourselves the 5 out of 5 and say, I have no idea why I'm not progressing, right? We get to truly be honest and look at what that looks like. So our next slide here, and this was such a game changer for me. So lots of info on here. Again, this is in your workbook, fully typed out for you. But TDE, okay? TDE, we can establish our body's baseline calories. It's also known as our maintenance calories that we consume to keep our weight stable. Okay. This number is important to help us dictate how much we should be eating on a deficit for a fat loss or calorie surplus for a muscle gain. On a side note, your maintenance calories are not a fixed number. Okay. So if you're gaining more muscle, your maintenance calories might range. If you're losing more muscle, your maintenance calories might range as well. So more important is the practical part is how you calculate your estimated baseline calories. So Marilyn's actually going to put in the chat this TDE calculator. So as I'm talking through it, you guys can actually figure out what your TDE numbers are. I don't know what the right phrase is there. So I'm going to go ahead and talk through it. You guys can go ahead and, it's okay if you're away from me for a second. I honestly can't even see you. I wish I could, but go ahead and type that in. So that first number, actually, I'm going to start from the bottom. So BMR. BMR is when we step on the in-body, it tells us our BMR, basal metabolic rate. Okay. That is the energy your body needs to run the system and to keep your body alive. This makes up 60 to 70%. This is based on your height, weight, age, and your muscle mass. Okay. So this cannot change short term, but this can increase, with more lean muscle you have, and can increase your your BMR. Okay. So in long term that can increase, but for the most part, it's a fair, I don't want to say fixed number, but it's a number that stays fairly similar. Okay. Number 2 is our neat calorie expenditure. So non-exercise activity thermogenics. Okay. I have to have this here because I would not remember all these words. This is the amount of calories that you burn from the walking, the cleaning the house, the unplanned activity, laughing, posture, cooking, all these things. All this is where you burn some calories, and this right here is 20 to 30%. This is why the step count is so important. Okay. So if I went from walking only 2,000 calories to 12,000 calories, that makes sense why I'm going to be burning more and why I'm going to have a better, easier time dropping that weight on the scale when in a fat loss phase. Okay. TEF, the thermic effect. This is what we burn when we are actually chewing our foods. Okay. So this is why it's super important to eat unprocessed foods, things that are high in fiber, things that are high in protein, because that makes you actually chew your food longer, right? This is also why it's important to slow down our eating, to breathe, to be present, to think of all the textures, all the things, right? Slow down your eating so that we can actually burn that 5 to 10% that TEF makes up out of this whole equation. Okay. And then last but not least is our exercise activity thermogenics. And this is where we actually burn calories while working out. And if you notice, that sliver is only, it says 10 to 15%. It looks like 5% on here, but it's super small. Okay. So when we're obsessed with our tracking technology, our watch, our ring, or whatever's tracking, and it tells you 500 calories, and that affects you here thinking that you get to eat 500 more calories, please don't, because that is going to affect your numbers, and that is not the most accurate, but they are a great way just to give us heart rate, understand where we're at. But calorie burn wise, I would take it with a grain of salt. Okay. Did you guys figure out your maintenance calories? If so, put them in the chat. Not that I can freaking see the chat, but I wish I could. Actually, I do want to see the chat to see what you guys have for your maintenance calories really quick. Okay, let me see. Your presentation isn't showing, it's just, can you guys see everything? I think so, right? That was cool. So Monica, maintenance calories, awesome. Gabe, nice maintenance calories. You get to grub, boy. What were you on your bulk? Do you know what your calories were for your bulk?
Was it? Yeah, so my bulk I was at 3,400.
Okay, cool. So good. So yeah, you were more than, so that's perfect.
That's a lot of food.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, my maintenance calories, I am, how tall am I? I am 5'3". And I weigh 150. My maintenance calories are, I believe, 2,100, right? So obviously being at 1,300 calories for my cut is insane, right? That is so low. And when we stay in such a low state, we're going to get irritable. We're going to mess up our hormones. We're going to do all these things. So now that we know what our maintenance calories, I love that. I love that you guys have all looked that up. That's so important. So do what you want with it. Figure out where we're currently at. If you're just ending a cut like Monica, we're going to have to build up little by little to eat those maintenance calories so that you can keep that shape and that body fat drop that you've done, right? Different things like that, so that we can be intentional with our progress, so that we're not losing muscle while staying too low in calories. Okay, that is not the goal, because that's not going to give you the shape we want. So I'm really grateful that we have a structure and that I can educate you guys on this so that we can do this together. And yes, there's a lot of scary things with upping our calories, seeing the weight on the scale move, all the things, or maybe just feeling a little bit differently in our clothes. But just know that this is a long-term game plan. Okay, this is not something that we're going to stay forever in these results, but we're going to get better and better every time we go through this. Okay, so I'm glad this was helpful. Make sure if you guys didn't do your maintenance calories, plug them in, put them in there. I'm really excited to see what those look like. I see that Vanessa hopped on. Yay. Alyssa, what's up, girl? I know you're driving, so thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my screen, okay? But I wanted to check in with y'all. Man, this presentation gets just so much juicier, so I hope y'all are ready for it. I'm just kidding. Okay, so TDEE calories, again, I did talk about it already. So why is it so important? Oh, sorry. Why is it so important to understand what our maintenance calories are? One, it's important to make sure that we're getting the 3 to 5 days per week strength training with some cardio, right? But we understand that that's really only a small percentage. Also, it's important to get over what your Apple Watch or your Fitbit tells you about your calories burned during a workout. Don't be so obsessed with that number. Yes, we can appreciate that our resting heart rate gets better. We can appreciate that we're getting our workout in, tracking, keeping the streak. I love all that, believe me, but I don't want us to get super into the actual calories burned there, okay? And then we have TEF, making sure we're eating enough of the fibrous foods, enough protein, because junk food is actually so easy to overeat. Think how quick we can huff down to me, how quick we can eat hot Cheetos, a bag of hot Cheetos, versus how long it'll take us to eat a bag of spinach, right? So different. That's the difference between volume and eating something that's more nutritious for our body versus junk food, processed food that's so easy to overeat and not digest that well, okay? Then our neat calories, that's where we get to be intentional with our daily step count so that we can increase that burn. And we can also have so many other benefits from getting out and walking and moving more, right? And then last but not least, the BMR, understanding that if your BMR is 1,400 calories, that's currently what mine is, this does not mean you get to be eating 1,200 calories to lose fat. Yes, you will see weight loss, but most likely you will lose a lot of muscle, which is not going to get you the toned look you are going for. Toned means you get to have muscle and drop fat. If you are burning muscle and burning fat, or losing muscle and losing fat, you're not going to get the tone look, and you're going to constantly feel frustrated. So we got to make sure that we go from those low calories, build up to that maintenance, and figure out where you're at on this transformation cycle. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful. Okay. So number one is we're gonna talk a little bit about a case study. In that workbook, I gave you some room to take notes on these case studies. Okay. So if on this right here, I don't know if I can zoom in, but this client's estimated calorie intake to keep her weight stable was 2,000 calories. That was her maintenance calories, and her goal was to lose weight. So she started to track her intake. She calculated her deficit calories and set her goal at 1,500 calories per day to lose body fat. Okay. This is very common for a lot of people. They sign into MyFitnessPal, they pick a random number. They say that should be good for me to lose some weight, not really understanding what this true process looks like, right? So she put her calories at 1,500 calories, started to log it. Most of the time she hit her calorie goal, but when she was weighing herself only once a week, the scale wasn't showing the weight drop that she expected. What did she mess up there already? Is that she was weighing herself only once a week, right? If for any of us that have been on this journey before, we understand that we do need to weigh ourselves consistently because there are so many fluctuations on a day-to-day basis. So if she weighs in only on Sundays and she sees 150, but during the week, you don't know that she dropped all the way to 146 on Wednesday, but then throughout the week, she went back to 151 on the next Sunday. She thinks she's gaining weight, and she's actually only eating 1,500 calories. Okay, so that's what that means there. So on the days when she was frustrated and took over, she treated herself with her favorite soul food. She thought that her effort was not bearing fruit, so why even bother? Back on track and feeling guilty and overeating, she was cutting out more foods and more calories, but the more extreme she started to cut things out, the more extreme her cheat meals went. I've totally been there. So if you've ever experienced this, you are not alone, which is why I wanted to make sure I put this in the case study. Okay. The untracked meals and the weekend cheats were putting her out of her deficit. All her efforts were leading to nothing but frustration and guilt. And she thought that her metabolism was slow, her body was broken, and that she would never be able to achieve her desired results. But again, if you look at this right here. Oh yeah, it can let me zoom in. These are all her untracked foods, her weekend cheat meals, and alcohol. That is what makes up that extra. But when we're really only tracking the 1,500 calories, putting ourselves on something super restrictive, and then when we do, I don't want to say binge because that is a very like specific term, but when we do overeat or untrack or eat the random bag of nuts or the random kids leftovers, that's all this area right here. But it sounds like so little, right? Like, oh, it was only half of their bag of fries. It can't be that much, right? It was only 2 drinks on Taco Tuesday, whatever it is. All these things add up. So making sure that we're setting ourselves up for success on a realistic deficit. You don't want to put yourself on something super restrictive. You want to go very gradual. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully some of you understood what that looked like. This next one, okay. A client reached out. This is actually from my trainer. So she used this case study, but I loved it. So we used it from her. So she calculated her deficit calories with help of an online calculator, just like we all did, right? So this is important for us to make sure we consider. After weeks of consistency, the scale weight was not dropping at all. She got frustrated and started to think that her metabolism was slowing down. In the case, she was not, if you're not losing weight, you're not in a calorie deficit. So let's say that you actually start at your calories that you plugged in those maintenance calories, but you're not losing weight by being a little bit lower, then that may not be your accurate maintenance calories, and be okay with that. That is a random calculator that we just use. Your body is very intricate. Everybody's body is different. It might not be that 2,900. It might not be that 2,100. So be flexible with it. Okay. So in this case, the calorie calculator estimated her deficit calories wrong. This is the reason why she wasn't losing weight, her metabolism wasn't slow, and she wasn't broken at all. In order to know the number you've gotten from a calorie calculator is accurate, it's important for you to test it for at least 2. Honestly, it's better for 4 weeks, and to adjust the calories or macros if needed. Okay. So it's not, you don't want to change the calories every week or every couple days because you don't see the scale moving in the right direction. This is a patient's long-term game plan. Okay. So logging your weight daily is going to be helpful if you're truly serious to get on a specific cut, build, or maintenance phase. And also making sure that you are just being honest and consistent with all the things you're logging and with your coach if you're working with the coach. So that's just super important. Hopefully this one was helpful here. All right. So the question is, are you matching your nutrition and your training? Okay. So if no, when you're in a surplus, you're going to gain fat. Okay. If no, when you're in a maintenance phase, your body's going to look the same damn way. You're going to have no body composition changes. Okay. If no, your calorie deficit, you're actually going to lose fat, but you're also going to lose muscle, which is not going to end up giving you the shape or the tone look that you're looking for. Okay. So if yes, your calorie surplus, you're going to gain a ton of muscle, which is going to be amazing. Sorry, I shouldn't say a ton. You're going to gain some muscle. I don't know what rate you're going to gain it, so I don't want to lie. Yeah, if at yes for maintenance calories, you are going to lose fat and you're also going to gain some muscle, which is exciting. Some people think that, oh, maintenance calories are just going to look the same forever. That's only if your training and your nutrition aren't matching. Okay, so we're going to talk more about the nutrition part in a second. And then calorie deficit, you will lose fat and minimally lose some muscle gain, or you'll have some minimal muscle gain. I apologize. So I actually gained a ton of muscle during the time of my fat loss, which is really fun. So we can totally do it. And I shouldn't use a ton again, like 2 pounds, which is great. Which is a ton when you actually think about it. So food quality sweet spot. So I'm going to start on the right side where it says adherence. Okay. So again, many people when they start with me, they want to jump straight into low calories, right? Or they're just trying to figure out their nutrition and they're like, oh, I need to take out all the carbs, take out all the fat. I only need to eat protein. That's not the case. Okay. Adherence. This will not be possible to sustain an overly strict diet if you, for your diet or your building phase. We want to design a long-term diet that works for you, including your favorite foods. If you guys have followed me at all for any sense of time, you know that I love eating all my favorite foods. I still love my donuts. I love my ice cream. I love my sopes. I love all the damn things. I do not deprive myself, but we can still get results. Okay. So if you just wanted to tighten it up, sure, you could get you can get some more results there. But the goal is to do this in a long-term game plan and not to just go all in for 3 months and then to never work out again or to not have to think about it again, because that's not how this journey works. Okay. So next is the micronutrients and fiber. You want to make sure that your diet covers all your essential micronutrients and your micro and macronutrients, right? Also, your fiber intake will be a big role in how your health and digestion. So for fiber, we should be eating anywhere between 25 to 35 grams of fiber. Okay, why is that important? Because you need to make sure you're moving things smoothly. Okay, so can we do that? Make sure that we're eating colorful foods. Make sure that we're including the rainbow when we eat. So have your salads, have your all the colors. I'm not even going to go into detail there. I'll have a brain fart. So last but not least is hunger management. Okay, during a fat loss, you want to make sure that you increase your volume to calorie ratio, right? So we're going to have maybe for example, 100 grams of spinach is going to take you so much longer to eat versus 100 grams of rice, right? Versus 100 grams of hot Cheetos. That's on my mind, I guess. And then during the building phase, you want to decrease the volume. So that is when you want to have more of your carbs, more of maybe your breads, different things like that, so that you can consume and digest a bigger amount of calories and use that for your pump. Okay. Ooh, I need more water. How we doing, y'all? It's a lot of info. So I feel like many of us are very familiar with macronutrients, okay? We have our carbs, fats, and protein. None are more or less important than each other. You need all three, okay? And then some micronutrients, or not even micronutrients really, but you have your fiber and alcohol, just because I got to be honest, people need to know more about it, okay? So carbs increase energy, support digestion, and brain function, okay? So when people try to limit their carbs, you're going to notice your cognitive function decrease. You're going to be more irritable, and it is just not going to be fun for you or the people you are around. Okay. So please eat your carbs. Fats helps with your hormone and cell function, energy storage, and appetite regulation. If you notice, when you have super low fat intake, you may or may not be hungrier a lot quicker. I know I have to start every morning with a higher fat breakfast. Or just enough fat, balanced fat, because that's what's going to keep me full while I train my 6 clients, right? If I have something that's just super carby, then I'm going to be freaking hungry in 3 hours, and I have 3 more hours of clients. That is not fun for anyone. Okay. So proteins, the most important, needed for body transformation so that we can gain muscle and not make sure that we're losing it. Okay. Fiber promotes healthy digestion, which leads to burning more calories. Again, going back to that TEF number, which is part of our maintenance calories. And it helps decrease inflammation, okay, which is important for just like long-term health. And then alcohol, honestly, sorry, no benefits, decreases your body's ability to recover and is toxic to the liver and brain. Not that we didn't know, right? But everyone at their own place. Okay, this one was super cool to me because I think it's super important for us to understand food quality, processed versus unprocessed food, right? For the most part, we live in an age of 2024 where a lot of damn things are processed, okay? That just is what it is, like our Greek yogurt, our canned food, our protein shakes, our ground turkey, all those things are still processed. Not saying that they are unhealthy, but we don't want to eat just all that too. So we also look at the unprocessed foods. We have our fruits, our veggies, our chicken, our meats, all of our things, right? Even and then obviously unhealthy processed foods, and I just picked some of my faves. So I put those up there. So as we can see, if you're towards a cut, you're probably around anywhere between 1,500 calories and lower. The unprocessed food should be the majority of what you're intaking, with just a little bit of a calorie expenditure on processed foods. And as you continue to go up little by little, obviously you have more room to spend on more fun foods, processed foods, whatever that looks like. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. If you are trying to be on a cut, but you notice that processed foods is making up more or a little bit more than what this graph shows, then the unprocessed foods, and that could be a reason why maybe you're not feeling as good as you think you should. Okay. So on that workbook, I did ask you to go ahead and write down, what is your current ratio to processed and unprocessed foods? Are you relying a lot on the protein shakes, on the meal bars, on Chex Mix, I don't know what you eat, to hit your calories or to hit your goals? Or are you able to eat more unprocessed foods, and are you able to make your own meals or pay someone to make them, whatever that looks like? Okay. So really be honest with yourself on where you're at here. Go through your cupboards and figure out what may need some adjustments. All right, protein. This one might be a good one for you to screenshot if you don't have the workbook out. But this is what's a big deal about protein. Okay, so protein is the most important macronutrient when it comes to transforming your body. It's the building blocks for our muscles, and allows us to actually build the amount of muscles that we want instead of breaking down just all that muscle. So not eating enough protein in a calorie deficit will result to muscle loss. Not eating enough protein in a building phase will make it impossible to grow your muscles. And not eating enough protein in a maintenance phase can cause serious health issues. Okay, so you guys can go ahead and figure out your own calculation. If you notice these numbers right here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, fat loss, 2 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Muscle building, 1.6 to 1.8 gram per body weight, and maintenance phase or overall health is 1.4 to 1.6 gram per body weight. What are we noticing here? That we need more protein during our fat loss phase. Wow, isn't that funny how your trainer's been telling you that this whole time? I'm just kidding. I'm not, but you know what I mean. So please prioritize your protein intake. If you're having a tough time, there could just be some mental blocks or different things that we're going through, and that's a whole nother call. But we need more protein intake for the more fat you want to lose. Yes, the more muscle you have, the more fat you will lose. Okay, so, but during building and overall health, you can have a little bit less to maintain what you want to maintain. But even during that building, you're actually probably going to have more carbs. But yeah, another easy way to figure out what you want your protein intake to be. So again, I started at my fat loss phase at 169. That was not my goal weight. And my goal weight was 145. So my coach and I decided to put me at 150 grams of protein. So you want to, if your goal weight is 170, then you want to put yourself at 170 grams of protein. Okay. If your goal weight is 200, you might want to put yourself at that amount of protein. That's just a super easy way if you didn't want to do this calculation here. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful there. Hydration. Sheesh, look at that photo. Thanks, Monique. Just kidding. All right. So hydration, it's super important for you guys to stay hydrated, for us to stay hydrated for our performance, our recovery, and our health. Okay. So some simple guidelines we can think of: drink as much water without turning your pee transparent. Okay. You do still want it to have a little bit of color. You don't want it that dark color. You do want that super light color. But when you go transparent is when you end up depleting all your electrolytes. Okay, so make sure you find a good, healthy balance there. Sparkling and flat water are both good. Prioritizing drinking water other than every liquid will help boost your metabolism. And then last but not least, starting your day by drinking 32 ounces of water is just going to set you up for success. Okay, so coffee does not count as water. Please have your water. Okay, that one's kind of simple. I hope we all have a gallon jug around the house. I hope, I don't know, or at least 48 ounces. 32 is still kind of small because that's honestly so fast to drink. This one's really important: meal timing and size. Okay, so when should you eat and how much? Okay, so first of all, it's going to be really important for you to get on a schedule, a regular schedule, to have better results, better adherence, and save a ton of time, and also to relieve some stress. So if you're making your meals today because it's Sunday or Monday, whatever day you prefer to make them, figure out when you're going to eat. If you have your calendar and if your schedule's pretty fixed, kind of like mine, good for us, right? There's so many of us that don't have a fixed schedule, that have kids, that have games, have practices, crazy schedules, patience, all the things. I get that it's so much tougher, but it is not impossible. Okay, if you have kids, I know you are a impressive human being to learn how to get a whole bunch of things done, but now it's just learning how to prioritize those same things, but for you. Yes, your kids are important as well, but how much better will they be if they have a healthy, happy, well-fed mama? So much better, right? Or dad, whoever else is on here. Parent. Regular meals improve your sleep quality, increase your energy levels, boost your training performance, and improve your stress management. Okay, so it's so much easier when you have all your chicken cooked, or all your broccoli, all your veggies, or you have your tortillas on deck, whatever it is that you like, so that you can make your meal. Or so, just like Brittany, she packs all her meals in her lunch pail every morning, but she has the Greek yogurt, she has the protein shake, she packs the meal prep that was already made, and she knows what her breakfast is to the T. But if you think like, oh my God, what do I feel like eating today? What should I pack? What should I make for lunch? Oh, I still need to go grocery shopping. That is stressful just in itself, right? So make sure that you are prioritizing what you are going to eat. And now that you know your maintenance calories and you can figure out where you're currently at, and if you do log your food, calculate it all ahead of time. Log it all ahead of time so that there's no excuses to figure out if you did get 150 grams of protein. If you're like, oh my God, I only hit 70, I had no clue. If you put it in your mouth, you do have some sort of clue. It's just about prioritizing your time, right? And the phrase I've been using lately, and sorry if it's annoying, is that if you can spend 5 minutes scrolling on Instagram mindlessly, then you can also spend 5 minutes logging your food. And it doesn't even take that long. So when should you eat and how much? Eating 3 to 5 meals a day. This will lower your hunger and keep your energy up, not only for training, but everyday life. Okay. Spread out your protein throughout your meals. You don't want to just have that 50 grams in the morning and 50 grams in the evening. You still want to spread it out nice and evenly to help your muscles and retain better muscle mass. Have carbs pre and post workout. Okay. This is something that's really good to know because a lot of people are eating a lot of fat right before their workout, but really prioritizing your carbs and your protein before your workout. So a rough guesstimate would be 30 to 35% pre-workout and 35 to 40% post-workout. Okay. So that might be anywhere between 30 to 50 grams, or if you have a higher calorie expenditure, then you just figure out what that looks like there. Okay. So fats should not be eaten close to your workout time. So typo. I work out midday, so I eat my fats in my breakfast and my dinner, and I have my lunch, no fats or low fats, and then I have my post meal or snack, no fats or low fats. Okay, so that you just get to figure out what that looks like for you. If you're eating right in the beginning of if you're working out right in the beginning of the day, then figure out if you just have that banana after maybe having just your carbs and your protein, and then for your lunch you actually get to have more fat, etc. So figure out what that looks like. Everybody's going to be different. Training intensity. This one is really important. And this is really important because I've been a trainer for 10 years and I did not understand what training intensity meant until probably the last 2-3 years. And I think it's made a huge difference in my performance, my strength, my body composition, and how I train my clients now. Okay. So load selection, meaning the weights you choose for your workout, and the stimulus, how you want that workout to feel, are imperative to actually give you the muscle growth you are after. Training to failure is not subjective, right? It's not what you think or I think. It is objective. It is directly correlated with the speed of the movement. So let's think back to our last workout. Okay. And if your rep count was 10 to 12, okay, but your RPE was supposed to be 8 to 9. So if we look over here on that thing for RPE means it's the rate of perceived exertion. Okay. So 10 out of 10 means that you are gassed out. You did all you can do, meaning that you had 0 reps left in reserve, right? 10 out of 10. You're like, oh, I wasn't even sure I was going to get that. That was for sure my last rep. And probably if you're at 10 out of 10 RPE, your form isn't beautiful. Your form might be kind of ugly, not going to lie. It doesn't have to be horrendous, but it's not going to be super pretty. It's not going to be perfect. Okay. So that's important for you to know. It's not just a you thing or a me thing. That's an everyone thing. That form isn't going to be pretty right around the 10 or 9 RPE. So things to look for in our weights. How fast is your weight moving? Are you still moving it really fast? If it's still super fast, you're like, oh my God, I couldn't have done any more. I'm going to look at you and be like, that was still way too easy. Even though it feels hard. And I get that it feels hard, but the burning sensation does not mean that you are training to failure. How many of us have used a booty band before, right? A booty band burns the heck out of your glutes, your adductors, your butt, which is your glutes, your quads, everything. You can do that for 2-3 minutes and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing it till failure. No, that is just a burning sensation. That does not matter. So I want you to think of that when you're doing your exercises, that is not training till failure. And I'll explain a little bit more what that means. But it's really important to help you and help me figure out what your RPE is during your movements, right? So it's going to be important to make sure that you're logging your workouts, that you're logging all that and making sure that you have a log of all these things. That was super redundant. Anyways, so a question you can ask yourself is how many more reps could you have done? You just did a back squat of 135 and you did 10 reps because that was the max on the program. And I'm going to turn around and ask you, how many more reps could you have done? And you need to think honestly, like, okay, were you still moving fast enough? What did that look like? Did you feel like you could bang out 5 more reps? And be honest with yourself? And it is going to take practice, exposure, and experience. If you are someone that's a noob to training, I am not going to have you go to an intensity or an RPE of 9. Right? We're going to figure out where you're at. We're going to figure out your strength. And we also need to figure out like where your mindset's at when you're squatting, when you're benching, when you're deadlifting. If you're afraid that you're going to get injured, if you're afraid that you can't even get to that point, then that's another thing that we get to talk about as well. And that's just going to change with more reps, more exposure, different things. Do you have a hard time talking after your reps? That's probably right around a 7 RPE, okay? Are you able to have a full conversation while performing your reps? And you're probably around 1 to 4 RPE. If you're able to talk the whole damn time, you are not working hard enough, my friend. I'm so sorry to tell you. And be okay with fighting for those last reps. You may be surprised with how much you are actually holding yourself back. Okay, so I think this one's really important to talk about. This one, okay, so what does failure mean? Okay, failure is, or learning to train close to failure. So we have 2 different types of failure. The one that we want to shoot for is technical failure. This is when the weight stops moving with proper form, meaning, like, if you guys saw my deadlift, right, my 265-pound deadlift, that was ugly. Okay, it was ugly, but it was still a deadlift PR, and the technique wasn't perfect, but I was able to still move the weight safely. I was not injured, nothing happened. So example, rounded back during a deadlift, knee slightly caved in during a squat, or not being able to fully extend those legs on a leg extension, right? That is what a technical failure is. And what I told some of my clients is that you have about 2 reps of those, which are Arnold Schwarzenegger calls your cheater reps. You have 2 reps of those. If you are doing that from rep number 2 all the way to rep number 12, that is an absolute failure. Okay, you're moving the weight past the point of technical failure with bad form until the weight stops moving. For example, the bicep curls, swinging, that's not how this should look. Or the shoulder flies, moving your whole body. That's not how they should look as well. You should be able to do things nice and controlled with really good form. If not, we need to adjust the weight, talk about form, or figure out what's going on there. Okay, so this will get better, and this skill will get better with exposure and experience. How are we doing so far? I'm gonna go ahead and I could chat about this one while I take off my screen so I can see y'all for a second and maybe check the chat. Stop share. All right, so how do we feel so far about what we're learning? That's okay. Oh, I can see y'all here. What has been the biggest thing that we realize that we have some room for growth on? Or what are some things that we're like, okay, I needed to hear this today? And this next one, I'm actually going to talk a little bit through why it's important to record your workouts. And when I say record, that could be anything from writing them down in your app. It can be from actually recording your form and all the things. Okay. Hey, Nicolette. What's up, Monica Romero Rodriguez? Okay, cool. Nice to see everyone. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the screen, but you guys can go ahead and share in the chat. And when you guys respond in there, I can go ahead and read that a little bit later. So back to sharing my screen. You're almost done, okay? But I think. Okay, so importance of recording your sessions. So your training log should include your exercise / your movement, how many sets you're doing, how many reps you're doing, your RPE or RIR. Again, RPE is rate of perceived exertion. RIR is how many reps you have in reserve. Failure being where you have 10 or 0. So making sure you log that. So on that first set, your RPE should be probably around a 7, 8. But if your goal is to train at that 8 or 9, by that second or third set, you should be at that 8 or 9 RPE. Okay, so make sure that we're not getting comfortable by picking the same weights week by week. We want to make training decisions based on last week's weights, recovery, and your goals. Okay, that's really why I ask every single time, what is your recovery? We look at the weights from before, so that's why it's super important to log our stuff and then reminding yourself of what your goals are. If we're just coming in to train, then you might be frustrated with your lack of results or etc., or how fast your results are coming on. So don't get stuck in your head or in your comfort zone by picking the same weights week by week. This is a recipe for leaving gains on the table. Train to recover. So this is really important. A lot of people used to, or maybe still, train to burn calories, right? And whether it's I don't know, I don't have any examples right now, but everybody's body is different. Therefore, it's crucial to be mindful of your training and how you're recovering from it. So things you want to consider is your soreness lasting too long? Are you very tired after training sessions? Are you constantly getting injured? How's your digestion? Are you sleeping well and fully through the night, right? Are you able to eat enough? Are you overly hungry? So some things that are really important is making sure that we're training 3 to 5 times per week, but it's very important to have the 2 to 4 rest days. And with those rest days, not even on the rest days, on most days, you want to still make sure, again, going back to that training hierarchy, that your sleep and your recovery is good, right? That you're still getting your steps in, not even just on movement days, or not even just on training days. You also want to keep those steps up throughout the day and make that your new standard. And that's going to build up little by little. We can start with 3 days a week, build up to 4, 5, until you get to that 7 out of 7. And it does take time to figure out the timing and the adjustment, because it is different. I hear you. And more is not always better for training. So whether it's the 2-hour workout in the gym, or the 2-a-days, or the hike and the strength training, or whatever that is, be honest with what your recovery is. You may actually be not getting the gains you want to get because you're overworking your body. Okay, so your goal is to train to progress while also being able to recover. What affects your recovery? Okay, we talk about this a lot with my clients. So stress, what is your current life load? How are you currently coping with it? Being honest with yourself when it's time to take more rest or take more things off your plate. Set boundaries with yourself or others and communicate your needs. Always seek professional help if necessary / needed. Nutrition, not eating enough balanced nutritious foods, overeating processed foods, or over drinking alcohol. Okay, those are things that are totally going to affect your recovery. As we've noticed, so many of my clients have been with me and we're like, oh my God, I didn't eat enough. And it's so crazy how we feel in that workout versus when we do eat enough, and how much lighter and how much easier you're able to move the weight, right? So chase that feeling, use that as motivation there. And sleep, not prioritizing enough quality sleep. Okay, so making sure you get some sort of sleep routine to figure that out. Symptoms of overtraining. I'm just honestly going to read it straight down. And I've definitely been there. And it's tough. It's not fun. It's not fun to overtrain because you think you're doing all this work, but then you're not getting the results you think you should be getting, right? So not eating enough, soreness or strain and pain, overuse, injuries, fatigue, reduced appetite and weight loss, irritability and agitation, which is why we don't want to stay in a fat loss or too low calories too long, right? Persistent injuries or muscle pain, decline in performance where you're just tapped out and you're not able to move the same way you used to move. Workouts feeling more challenging, disturbed sleep, not being able to sleep through the night, decreased immunity or illness, noticing that you're getting sick a lot more often, weight gain, and then loss of motivation, right? So if you've experienced any of these, maybe it's time to be honest with ourselves on where we are, what is affecting our recovery. Is it more stress? Is it more sleep, nutrition, or is it a combination of all the things? Okay. Training volume. So this is for my nerds that want to know some numbers. Just kidding. If you train with me, I'm already getting you these numbers, but if you're not, then these are going to be really good for you to learn. So training volume for building muscles. Number of reps that you should stay with for building muscles should be anywhere between 6 to 15. There's some studies that also talk about 5 to 30 reps with the proper intensity. 5 to 30 reps should not be with 5-pound dumbbells or just crazy light weights. You still want to keep that RP of around probably 7, 8. Okay. 12 to 20 sets per workout. What does that mean? That's probably 4 movements, 3 sets of those, which is 12, or you can have up to 2 to 5 sets per movement with 2 to 7 movements per workout. Okay, so that's what that looks like. You don't want to have 8, 9, 10 movements per training session, because if you're able to do all that, that means your training intensity isn't enough to make the changes you want in your body. Okay, and it's going to be tough to progress in all those movements if you have so many movements in your workout. So if you're just pulling random workouts from Instagram, from whatever, doing all these things, it might not get you the results you're looking for, especially if you're trying to change your shape, change your muscle mass, all those things, change your body composition. So what's also important is progressive overload, increasing your weights, reps, sets, or adding in tempo to help build muscle to get stronger week by week or month by month. That is only going to happen if you prioritize your recovery. Okay, all these things are so intertwined. So it's not one thing. You have to have the training down and you get to ignore the recovery. Not at all. You need the nutrition, the recovery, all the things. Okay, so making the most out of each training program by training with the proper intensity. Each program can last anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks. If you're on week 4 and I notice that you are still moving the weights really easily, and things are still moving really smooth and you still can push out of that program, then we're probably going to add another 2 weeks to that program. Okay. Or if you're still moving and you're still progressing and you're getting your sleep down a little better and you are on week 6 of your program, be like, hey, she can probably still move a little bit more. Let's go ahead and add 2 more weeks to this. Your nutrition is so much better. Your stress is decreased. Your sleep is so much better. Now you're able to move the weights that maybe you've always been able to, but your recovery was holding you back. Okay. So that's why this can last anywhere between that 4 to 8 weeks. 4 is just kind of fun because we get to switch things up a little bit more, but it is fun as you continue to progress and increase your weights, etc. So fun, right? Trainer fun. All right, so steps and cardio. We're honestly on our last couple of slides, so thank you guys for being amazing. Steps and cardio. It's to help boost your fat loss and increase your cardiovascular health. Again, I talked about this earlier. Recommended steps for fat loss can range anywhere between 5 to 15K, depending on your current baseline. Easy cardio of 2 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes with your heart rate goal of your age minus 160 is your target heart rate. So again, my example is a 31 age 160 minus 160, so 129. Okay. So any easy cardio could be whether a treadmill, rower, swim, bike, easy hike. Obviously on the rower or if you have a tracking device, you can kind of guess your heart rate, or obviously just listen for 15 seconds times 4, all the things. Anyways, so that's that. Oh, yay. We got to the end, y'all. So Marilyn's actually going to go ahead and send a link for a survey so you guys can give us some feedback on today's monthly growth mindset. But again, my vision with this call was to educate y'all, to empower y'all, and to impact y'all to go ahead and share this knowledge with your spouse, your kids, but to live it out, right? The more we live out everything we're learning, the better they're going to want to follow in your footsteps. Okay. So I'm just really, really, really grateful to have you guys on and to listen and to hopefully apply these things. Obviously, most of you are my clients or people that have paid to be on here today, which I'm super grateful for you guys. But yes, please take the 3 minutes to fill out that survey. You can go ahead and click on that link, or it'll also get sent to you in the email. So again, this will get sent to you via email today with the recording. We'll also reattach the workbook if you guys didn't see it before, and then the survey. Okay. So for the survey for next month, I did give you guys 3 different topics to choose from on what you want to vote to see next month. Okay. So I'm just super, super excited that you guys took some time to invest in your health and your education and how you can better show up for yourself on this journey. But I hope this was helpful. I am going to go ahead and unshare my screen so I can see if there's anything in the chat, or if y'all want to ask any questions. I can go ahead and stop the recording so I can do any coaching because I have at least 15 more minutes. Okay. Hey, Michelle, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. I'm going to stop the recording on this end. Stop.